Thank you. The time is 7:02 p.m. I would like to call to order our March 6th, 2024 Parent and Community Advisory Council meeting. Mr. Carter Ross, can you do roll call, please?
Yes, Dr. Paris Adon,
I'm here.
Reverend Dr. Orlando Jermaine Bago,
Present.
Ms. Rebecca Brown,
Present.
Mr. Will Epps, Dr. Sheila Jackson,
Present.
Ms. Carletta Lundy,
Present.
Chair Dolores Millhouse,
Present.
Carter Ross is present, Ms. Teresa Smith, Ms. Carol Walker, Mrs. Robin Welsh,
Present.
Ms. Latanza Wilson. Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Ms. Barton, I have, can you send Ms. Smith and Mr. Epps the link again, please? Thank you. I apologize for that. I've just gotten messages from the members. And she said she's trying to be let in at the time. Okay. Thank you. And so at this time, we will move into item 1.2, welcoming in the open remarks. So I want to say thank you very much for you all coming today. It is a privilege to have the chair of the Board of Education, Ms. Judy Mickens-Murray, as well as the vice chair, Lolita Walker, to attend our Parent and Community Advisory Council meeting today. We are thankful that you all were able to attend during this time slot when we are already scheduled to meet. So we are excited. I know that we have Chief Boyd in the corner over there with you, Ms. Walker, as well, but they are down in Annapolis doing the work of the people. So I want to thank all of our members for being here tonight. And I'm excited that we are going to be able to connect with our board leadership and just really get a good idea of how we continue to work as an advisory council to support the work here in PGCPS. At this time, we'll move to item 1.3 in the adoption of the March 6, 2024 meeting agenda.
I move that we adopt the meeting agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So as it moved and accepted that item 1.3, the adoption of the March 6, 2024 meeting agenda, we will also now move into item 1.4, approval of the minutes from February 7th, 2024 PCAC meeting. Can I have a motion from the floor, please?
So moved, Chair.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Anyone opposed or have any objection? Thank you. So at this time, item 1.4 has been moved, second, and adopted of the approval of the minute meetings from February 7th, 2024 meeting. For me, item 1.5, I don't have much to report, and I don't want to take up too much of our time on this meeting because I really want us to have a very robust discussion when we get down to items 2, in allowing the board leadership to have the floor to speak with us. The most important thing I want to make sure that we are all aware of, but please pay attention to what's happening with the calendar for the Board of Education. We definitely need to be in a position that we're understanding any bills or laws that are being submitted that can impact our operating budget and however we can lend our voices. I do also want to share that I am working with the my district member, and he is putting on an event for the parent leaders in District 7. And I'm very excited about it. And the hopes are that once we move through with his parent leadership meeting, that I will just take the information that I am creating for District 7 and share that throughout to all of the other board members so they can share with the other parent leaders who are looking to start parent groups, right? Who are looking to kind of organize as a collective group in the district and to bring together ideas so people are not feeling like they're isolated. And we did not have our meeting with the superintendent this month. It has been postponed and moved to this Friday. And so we will have a report out after that meeting. But that is all I have for the report of the chair. I'm just excited that we do have board leadership here. And that is enough in itself for me to report out in my report. Any questions about my brief report? No, that's great. And so I know Ms. Welsh and Dr. Jackson, you all sent some information to report out on today. So I'm going to move to item 1.6 so you can provide brief reports in your area. I will say that Ms. Walker may have to jump off at some point because she is waiting to go into a meeting down in Annapolis. So if we can just keep it high level and brief so we can move quickly into the discussion.
Dr. Jackson, you may go first if you like.
I will go first. And Ms. Barton, I sent mine early. You will have it in writing in board docs. And so I'm not going to read my report to you. The one thing I do want to share is the video that was created in communications starring one of our star students in Prince George's County Public Schools. It was made to really help educate parents in the community about what our budget is and what the process is that our wonderful team down in Annapolis is overseeing for us right now. So if we could share that video, that would be all of my report because everything else is written. Ms. Barton, do you want me to share my screen and show it? Oh, there we go. Okay.
Hi, I'm Ayima K. Owena, a senior at Charles River Flowers High School. It's a beautiful building with great teachers and staff, but I often wonder, what does it take to make all of this happen? Where's all the money come from? My teacher salaries, the maintenance that keeps these halls so clean, the buses that bring me and my friends here every day? Well, I've been learning about budgets and how without them, organizations, schools, and families too can't thrive for long. So what is a budget? Well, I've learned a budget is simply a record of income and expenditures. It's a plan for managing money that keeps track of spending and prevents overspending, and it's meant to achieve specific goals. Here in the school system, those goals change with each new budget, but some are timeless. This year's funding priorities are, drumroll please, student safety, recruiting and retaining world-class teachers, mental health resources and access. Finally, academic improvement. But where does the money come from? The amount in this year's PGCPS proposed budget is a little bit over $2.8 billion. Can you imagine? Over 56% comes from the state of Maryland. 33.8% of budget funds come from the Prince George's County government. 5.1% of the total comes from the federal government. The Board of Education, 0.5%, and the fund balance, 4.2%. A nest egg of reserved funds kept for unanticipated expenses. So now that we know where the bucks begin, what does all that money buy? And who gets to spend it? While the school board and the superintendent control the purse strings, the bulk of the money is already set aside. add up pensions, salaries, transportations, heating and cooling costs, and other contracted work, about 95% of the money is already gone. It burns a hole in the pocket real fast. The remaining 5% is discretionary money. Now here's where all the dozens of great programs and services devoted to student success get funded. Think about tutoring, college and career readiness, technology training, mentorship, and dozens of other support programs. To find out more, go online to the school system's website at www.pgcps.org and type in Proposed Budget 2025 to see the proposed breakdown of each and every dollar. Find your school, find your office, and see what money might be coming your way. But hold on. Before you start celebrating, the proposal has to be presented and discussed by the school board, the county executive, and the county council, in that order. And all of us at public hearings, so that everyone can contribute and then finally reconciled budget by July 1st, the start of the new fiscal year. I know, with some sources of revenue shrinking and the cost of everything else going up, everybody can't get what they want in a budget, so compromise is essential. But wherever the buck stops, they'll be earmarked to provide each and every one of PGCPS's 126,000 students, like me, a world-class education. Budgets may be a lot of dollars and cents, but they're the price tag of happiness and of dreams coming true. So, here's what you can do. Check out the proposed budget for 2025 and plan to make your opinions known. It's our money and our future.
I'm so sick of this.
Thank you. That was amazing. And I always love the fact that when we utilize the voice of the student to really elevate what's happening here in PGCPS and the importance of why we need the funding, right? And the impact of that funding and what it does. So as Dr. Jackson stated, the report is on the website, and it has a list. It's several dates, right? Various events that are coming up. So please make sure that you all are staying in tune to what's happening. And most importantly, there is a MAD night that your team is putting on the 12th of March.
Yes, that's correct. That's the next Family Institute session. It's everything our parents need to know about mathematics at all grade levels to help us help our students.
Okay, and that's very exciting. And so thank you as always, Dr. Jackson. Anyone have any questions about the video? It was very informative. Any questions? Okay, Ms. Welsh, you're next. You're up.
Okay, I did share with you our legislative exchange. I think you said you were, oh, there we go. No. That's not it. Yeah, it's a different one. You have Dr. Jack. There you go. Okay, so this is our office working with the Chief of Staff and the Policy and Governance Committee put together this particular document. And what it does, it shows all the bills that the Policy and Governance Committee supports and which bills the Policy and Governance Committee opposes, and also bills that we support with amendments. And if it's hard to see when you look at it from here, but what it does, like under the supports group, and you name it has the name of the bill. Thank you. And then and the decision for support, whether or not it's supporting or opposing a bill, or whether it's a support with amendments, is based on the legislative platform, of which the Policy and Governance Committee did vote on and approve, and then it went to the full board, and the full board approved it. So as you go through and just scroll through it, and I assume members of PCAC can get back and look at this. Is this attached to anything, Muriel, so that we can have the chance to look at? Good. And it basically explains why, based on the legislative platform, why a policy is a bill is opposed, or whether it's supported or supported with amendments. So since we can't talk very long, I think this sort of gives it to you, but I'll be glad to answer any questions about any of the bills as you've had an opportunity to look at them. You're certainly welcome to email me or something. I'll be glad to explain any of the bills or the reasoning behind why maybe we either support or oppose a bill. Ms. Millhouse, do you have anything else you want to ask about that?
No, I mean, the reason why I definitely wanted to reach back out, to you to get this information again is because I have been working with some of the policy debate teams, right? And it's always important to me if these students are already looking at federal policies, right? It's not going to be hard for them to identify some of the laws that are being presented that impact what's happening to them right in the school district that they come and they get educated in. Right. And so I thought it was very important to see if there were any updates, right, that you all had, and make sure that the PCAC members have it as a whole, and then that we can also share as we're out in the community, because that's our first and primary role as community members and parents, right, to be abreast of what's happening. Right?
No, that makes perfect sense. That's good.
Yeah.
I will share one thing, that if you go through this and you see that, because there's a larger number of bills that we oppose than what we support. And one of the main reasons, if you look at it, is because many of these are unfunded mandates. So the legislature puts these bills out and they mandate we're going to have to do this, but what we find out is we send out fiscal notes out to our different divisions, and they do calculations on how much it would cost us to be able to implement that particular one of the bills or whatever. And many times we're talking, $5 million to implement what they're asking us to do. So that adds up pretty quickly when you have all these bills out there with these unfunded mandates. And the other area that is a big area is that the legislature often wants to mandate curriculum. And curriculum development, first of all, it's the standards for curriculum are developed by the Maryland State Department of Education and the Maryland State Board of Education. And then it is up to the superintendent, along with the Board of Education, to work and develop curriculum that goes to these standards and all the instructional activities. And we pay staff to spend a lot of time writing curriculum to meet these standards, but they're oftentimes individualized for Prince George's County Public Schools too, to meet many of the unique characteristics of living in the county and just different aspects, historically, things that have happened. So it's important to be able to maintain the authority of the superintendent and the Board of Education to have that right with curriculum. And so the last thing we want is the state legislature mandating what should be in curriculum and what the standards should be.
And thank you, Ms. Welsh. And one of the things I want to bring some attention to is under, I think it's page 3. When I shared with you all about the Prince George's County telecommunication tax and the energy sales tax, the late filing bills that had came through, I shared it, so I wanted you all to understand that what was being proposed and the impact of it, right? And we have to understand, we just had the quick video talking about budget and talking about the funding that we receive. So we have to be mindful, like Ms. Welsh stated, that when a lot of these proposed bills hit the floor, that they don't quite understand the impact and the pull that it's going to take from the operating budget that we have. So if we only have $10,000 and it's already spread out, and then you tell us to do something else, it's going to cost us $5. So we're already in a deficit, right? Because we've already spent the 10, and now you're telling us to do something else, but we have to add another 5 to it. So, being able to articulate where we stand and what we support as we are out there and engaging with our delegates, engaging with our senators or elected officials, period, on the council and anywhere here, that we have a good understanding of what we're talking about and the impact, as we also have a very, very strong voice when we go to the polls. So thank you, Ms. Welsh. Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Welsh?
Yes, I do. I don't know if my hand was raised, Chair Millhouse.
I'm sorry, I can't see it while she's sharing the screen. I'm sorry, I can see you now, and then Dr. Adon, Ms. Lundy.
Yes, thank you so much, Madam Chair. So it'll be quick. Ms. Welch, thank you so much for all the work that you do. I couldn't read that fine print, but I'll go back and revisit it because it was a lot. So I was wondering, is the board in favor of HB 1394? And that is a bill requiring, I don't know if it beginning in school year 26-27 school year, to each county board of education to provide students in grades 6 through 12 with the telephone number of 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline and the Safe Schools Maryland Anonymous tip line. So I was wondering, is that a bill in which the board is in favor of?
So actually, I don't know that we have that on our
It's not.
legislator tracker. And
Well-
so we rely on two different groups to be sending us the bills. And that one, I don't think came up. I need to check into that one.
Well, let me let you know where I was if we were gonna give reports. I saw that because I recently attended at the Maryland House delegation. I attended the Ways and Means Committee hearing, and
Right.
that they have so many educational bills, and I attended that hearing in support of another school bill, education bill on Restorative Schools Maryland, to establish a comprehensive plan to have our schools be, all of them, to be restorative. I know we do have that in the school system already. I saw that in the Student Code of Conduct manual. But that's where I found that bill at, and that was one that I really believe that we should have, given what's going on with respect to the mental health issues post-COVID and all of that. So it's HB 1394.
HB 1394. I definitely will check into that.
Thank you, Ms. Welch, and thank you again for all your work.
And Ms. Lundy, thank you as always. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's the power of civic engagement, being a part of our council. And Mr. Dr. Adon?
Yeah, sorry, my camera's not on. It's not working this evening for some reason. But just a quick question for Ms. Welsh. How do we access that list? And then I do have another question about the budget.
It's on board docs, and what I'll do is, Ms. Barton, if you can send it out as an attachment to the committee as a whole.
Thank you much. And my second question, I don't know if it's a question or more of a shameless plug, but I noticed the budget, I guess is even a question for our board chair as well. I noticed the budget, it's a large budget, great, looks great. I love the presentation, but I did want to emphasize, I didn't notice anything about athletics. And I know athletics is a huge part for me because this is my personal story going through the county. I just want to know if athletics has a small portion of the budget, if anyone could talk about that. Just briefly, not a lot.
I can't tell you the details, but yes, athletics is a part of our school system budget. And I cannot tell you the amount, but it definitely is still there.
All right.
And
Thank
what
you.
I can, Dr. Don, what I'll do is I will reach out to the OBAFA chair and the vice chair and just get a little bit more insight for you.
That'd be great because I just really believe athletics is a great way to reach a lot of our children. If we can get them, get athletics connected, and then we can get them connected academically. So just my own little personal question. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do we have any other comments or questions from Ms. Welsh or anything pertaining to the presentations?
Chair
Yes.
Millhouse, if I still have something else to say. So can I share that information just very briefly? I know we have to talk fast, but I'll talk very quickly.
No, go ahead.
I wanted to share what the Policy and Governance Committee has been working very hard on a lot of different policies, and currently there's a good number of policies that are out for public comment. I think that comment period probably closes the end of this week, but just to make sure everyone is aware, it's on the agenda, on board docs with the board agenda for the board meeting. But just so everyone knows, there's a new policy, artificial intelligence. There's another policy, search and seizure. There's another new policy, student use of social media and portable electronic devices in schools. Then there's revision to Public Information Act request policy. There's also the school bus conduct policy is up for revision, so that's up for public comment. Then another new policy, intellectual property rights, which has a lot to do with copyright. And so that one is up for comment. And then information technology services acceptable usage guidelines is up also for comment. And then this one, our most famous and our most favorite policy, Parents and Community Advisory Council policy 0115, or no, excuse me, 1500 is up for public comment. So it is an opportunity again, and then many people have provided comment. We appreciate it, but it is an opportunity to provide more comment. And I would also like to say that bylaw 9360, we're breaking this. It's a bylaw that covers many, many topics and very different types of board meetings and what happens, like agendas for board meetings, minutes for board meetings, things like that. So we're breaking it out into smaller bylaws, but the bylaw that's going to be addressing regular board meetings, there's been a major conversation over the fact that about prayer in a board meeting, and there is law, both legal cases and law out there that talks about that, because a board meeting does many times, it's not mandatory for students to come to a board meeting, but because it is opportunity for students to come many times for when they're coming to pick up awards, you know, they've been honored for something, or even if they go for an appeal and they're at a board meeting or whatever. The fact of the matter is to have to be then be in a situation where they must participate in prayer is, it goes against the whole separation of church and state. So there's the whole legal component, but there's many people in the community that want to maintain prayer in the board meetings. So the Policy and Governance Committee decided that they would send out a survey and to the community to find out what people's thoughts are about prayer in and this is just the public meeting, but in the beginning part where they do the prayer for the regular board meetings. So there will be a survey going out. I know Mr. Briggs has been working with board office staff to complete the survey and then get it sent out to everyone. And I will certainly make sure that he, and I'm sure he probably has already thought about this, is to make sure all the PCAC members get a copy of it.
Thank you, Ms. Welsh. Dr. Jackson?
Ms. Welsh, is there an opportunity for public comment on administrative procedures?
No.
Mm-mm.
Because those are considered internal working documents for, so basically the purpose of administrative procedure is to take what the board has laid out as what they want done, you know, in a policy. They say this is what we want. And then the administrative procedure should be telling people who are working in the school system, how are you going to do what the board wants? So, and then the administrative procedure should be broken out into, you know, all the components to be able to implement whatever it is the board has asked to have you know, completed or implemented.
Thank you for that clarification, because that question comes to me often. So it's good to know that. Thank you.
Mr. Carter-Ross?
Just a quick clarification, Mrs. Welsh. Are these policies going before the full board now, or are they before the Policy and Governance Committee, or is it a mix?
So the ones I just read to you are, they went to the full board and the full board voted to have them go out for public comment. So they are still the board. If you go on the website, you can actually submit your public comments. So the board office is still accepting public comment on these policies.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Thank you. And so now we'll move into item 2, discussion and action items. We are now here at 2.1, board leadership, building community. And so I want to thank, okay, there she is. I want to thank our board liaison, Mr. Briggs. I don't know if our other board liaison, Ms. Boozer Struthers, is here. I don't see her, but I do want to thank them for moving forward and getting us on the agenda with the leadership of our illustrious Board of Education. So at this time, we're going to turn this meeting over to you all Chair Nickens Murray and Vice Chair Walker, just to talk about our relationship and how we are going to be working together as your advisory council and how we work to support you.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for this opportunity. I didn't really know that I would be speaking tonight, but I'll take this opportunity to share, and I appreciate the opportunity. One of the things that I looked for from this particular advisory group is independent thinking. I was hoping to see you take an issue, let's say, this House Bill 1394. Ms. Lundy, I appreciate your bringing that forward. I would look to you to bring that bill to your body here. You guys dissect it. Tell us what you like about it, what you don't like about it, and whether or not you think we should support it. I am looking for you to give us independent thinking. You have children in our schools. You know whether the schools are meeting that oversight responsibility, that responsibility to teach your child and to help your child to learn. I'm looking for you to give us board members insight to that. You also have district reps who are board members. So you can pick up the phone and call them anytime you feel like it. But your voice is important, and an independent voice. It doesn't matter whether the board supports a policy or not. I want to know if you support it. If you support it, tell us why. If you don't support it, tell us that. Help us to see what we can't see, because I don't have kids in schools. I have nephews and nieces in schools, but your kids come home to you every day. They talk to you about their experience every day. You can tell us what we're doing good, what we're doing bad. So that is what I'm looking for. When I look in on your meetings, and sometimes I'll sit on the other side of your meetings, because I'm looking to see how you make the sausage. I'm looking to see how you come to your conclusions of the recommendations you want to bring to us. And then I'm also looking for you to take a motion, you vote on it as a body, and whatever that outcome is, that is what you bring to us after you debate. It's sort of like the board. We debate, we talk about it, and then at the end of the day, some vote for it, some don't vote for it, but the prevailing vote is what carries the day. So I don't know what else you want from me. I will say this. I know that the leadership wants to meet with the board leadership once a month or something. I can't do that. I'm just sorry. I have a busy schedule. That is why we set it up to where you have liaisons. That is why that is a board member. You have two. You have Pam now, Boozer Struthers. And you also have Mr. Briggs. So they're at your disposal, but not to run your meetings. Your meetings are yours. Board members, I shouldn't even be talking. I should be listening. I should be listening.
Yes.
That is what I am saying.
Yes.
These are your independent meetings. Your
Yes.
designees from the administration, they're just there to give you whatever you ask of them, but not to guide the conversation. It is your conversation to have. And you were selected for a reason by your district rep. So that's what I'm looking forward to in the future. I am really looking forward to you helping us to shape not only the values of this school system, but also the strategies that we embrace to help educate some children academically. We can put this system forward. We can, but I need to hear from you.
Yes.
Board members need to hear from you.
Yes, and I appreciate that. I want to say first, thank you for your comments. I want to acknowledge the work that this committee has been doing with the very independent thought process. I want to say that we have a pulse on what's happening in PGCPS. I know that we have also reported back to the board, and we gave you all the report. We provide consistent, continuous insight on ways to improve and things to do to push this school district forward. And so I'm not sure if there was a misunderstanding of what we were looking for and hoping for leadership, but it wasn't, to put you on the spot. It wasn't for you to tell us what to do. Like you're busy, we're very busy as well. We're volunteering our time to support this school district. I think all of us work. We all are raising our families, but we are looking to see how do we work together in an advisory capacity. And the only way that we can truly advise you is not just about what we want and what we think, but it's also what's happening from your point of view, right? And so being able to have a conversation with you all, that was the request, nothing more. But I'm quite sure we have a couple. I see a hand right there, Mr. Epps. I'm Mr. Epps, representing our business community. You have the floor right now.
Hi, yes. Good evening, everyone. I do have board chairperson, Chair Milkins. I do appreciate. Yes, I apologize for. I'm driving and I'm coming out of gymnastics with the kids. I'm a parent. I'm a father. I'm out on screen tonight because I'm being a father.
Okay.
I'm a father of 2 elementary age kids. Kids, keep it down, please. And while I have you on the line, I will say that it's been almost 2 years, and I'm glad to hear your directive. What I'm not happy about is to hear you tell me as a volunteer that you don't have the time. That is not okay for me. And I'm not going to speak for anybody else on this call, but I do know that there has been a heavy lift of hours of time investment. And the first commentary that I hear from you is to tell me, a volunteer, that you don't have the time to hear from your advisory council.
Let me say this. I'm sorry.
Excuse me 1 second. Let me finish.
I did not come here to get into a debate.
It's not a debate, ma'am. I'm letting you
I
know
did
that.
not come here because I've heard how board members have been disrespected by this group. So I am saying this to you. I respect your thinking, your planning, but I don't need to be there for you to do that. You are an independent body. And that independent body, you can give us reports. You can come to a board meeting and report. Ms. Millhouse, we had you at a board meeting where you reported out. What I have not seen consistently is any feedback from any of your meetings. And I understand that you had positions that were not filled. I got that. So I understand that you're in
I'm sorry, Miss Meekins Mary. Excuse me.
I'm not doing this.
Excuse me. If you talk about disrespect, for 2 years, there has been majority of the time we've had a quorum. Okay, and I don't talk that much at these meetings, but I have to take the opportunity because I don't play politics. I've stated from the very beginning that I'm about action. I want to take action to help the children, to help my family, and to help my peers. What cannot happen, and in no way am I trying to be disrespectful to you. This is a crucial conversation that has to happen, and it's happening now. I'm just saying, and I'm trying to echo, that there has been action taken by this PCAG membership since in its inception, starting with the foundational groundwork, heavy lift to figure out what we're supposed to be doing from the jump. I'm just stating a request that as a business representative, there are several small business owners that want to help, but they don't have programming. And quite frankly, we have had to
Mr. Epps, I'm not sure you cut out. Mr. Epps, Ms. Walker.
Is that you don't have the time, and that doesn't feel good. And I'll stop.
Thank you, Mr. Epps, and for that, Ms. Walker.
Good evening. So I am a parent. I am educator. I have worked in an administrative realm. I've worked in the classroom. I've worked as an instructional coach. And I actually started my career, my teaching career, when I transitioned over to education. I began my educational teaching career at Friendly High School in the same district that I live in, that I was appointed to serve. I'm actually personal friends with some board members and have very strong working relationships with other board members through other organizations in the community. I don't believe there's anyone in the PCAC that is dismissive of anything that happens with the board. We're not dismissive of anything that happens with the board. We are all very engaged and connected to our schools and our board member, and we are in the schools. We are at the meetings. We are at the fundraisers. We are at the public hearings. We are everywhere. And this is the end of our second year. And for this to be the first time for folks to show up at the end of the second year. Like my oldest child's about to graduate from high school, so the school year's over with, right? We all know once we go into testing season, the school year's done. School ends in June. So I will say that for this to be the first time, and for us to have extended an invitation, we're actually an extension of the board. And for a board member to come at us in such a manner that's such dismissive and divisive is actually insulting. Because we have given a lot of our personal time on top of our organizations and on top of our jobs and on top of taking care of our children to ensure that we have been in constant communication with the board, that we are requesting meetings with the board. We had a retreat.
You have Vice Chair Lolita Walker here. I am leaving. And Vice Chair, I leave it to you.
We thank you for your time. Have a good night. And this is why I am so thankful that we have Ms. Walker here, the Vice Chair. And we're going to keep smiling because I'm going to do a Michelle Obama right now. I'm going to stay high. I'm going to stay high, right? We're going to stay high, okay? Because what we're not going to do is going to turn our committee meetings into anything that does not reflect who we are and how we've been operating these past 2 years. So Vice Chair Walker, we thank you for being here.
Thank you. Let me, if I could jump in, I didn't know if Miss Walker, Miss Walker, hey, Miss
Yes,
Walker, I'm Miss Walker. Did you have anything additional that you wanted to add? If not, I'm going to go ahead and
I just want to close with, like, we have never had a meeting like this. Like, we've never had, like, I just don't know what to say at this point. Like, we have never had a meeting like this, you know.
I feel like we should just say we shall overcome one day.
Well, let me go ahead and
for the
pop
community.
in.
That's all.
Yes. So let me just go ahead and pop in. I want to just say thank you so much for the invitation. I know it's been a long time coming. I know there has been requests to meet with leadership. So let me just say thank you very much. I appreciate it. The original question was, what am I looking for the partnership? And I'll tell you from my vantage point, what I'm looking for from the partnership is when I ran for office, just to take y'all back a couple years, it was really around parental engagement. That's very big for me because I am a parent. I've always, oh no, I'm running out of juice. Hold on, let me plug my phone in. I have always been a board member on the PTA. And so for me, I just believe that without the parents, one, we need the parents in order to make the school go round. Two, I think that without the parents, you lose that big voice. And I think there's also an accountability metric. So what I'm really looking for from you all as volunteers for this relationship is really to have a tap into our community and our parent organizations. It's really to bring back to us what that voice really is. If there's bills that we have that's coming up, for instance, give us input to and guidance to our policy and governance committee, for instance, so that we can make sure that we have that lens when we're going to, like, I'm in Annapolis now, you know, and so to have you all's voice in with our government relations, for instance, I know you all you all advise the board and the superintendent. So I think that that plays a great medium, especially when it comes to legislation. With Robin Welsh being here and government affairs being represented, I think that you guys' voice is a big piece of that. So I think during legislative season, and then outside of that, so one arm would be, you know, just a voice within some key legislation. There's over 2,000 something bills. We're struggling to even go through all of them ourselves, but there'll be some big key ones that we would love to have some insight to. Okay. The other piece for that, I think, is like, I've called Ms. Millhouse before and said, hey, I'd like for you to come with me to this parent organization. They have a gap that they told me about where I know that you guys have already pulled together some documentation for. So whether it's like how her story about how she intervened with her children and got them on the right track, what intervention she was able to use, how to get a PTA up and going again. So those type of key things, like I'm a professional speaker in my real life. And I wonder if there's something where you all can say, because sometimes I'll say something like, these are my key topics. So if there's like 5 key topics that you all wouldn't mind going on a road with, or that you all have, that type of thing, I think, is advising us at the same time as the superintendent. But the beauty is that it's also advising our community. And I think that is where we really get our voice. I like the power of 3. So let me think of another one. But I think also just your advisement to us is really always keeping a scholar first. Like, our job is to keep the scholar first all the time too. That's why we're here in PGCPS anyway. But sometimes we kind of lose our way a little bit just because of the day-to-day things that's going on. So I see you all as always having a scholar at the top. And so those times where we might fall off, or when we meet, like, let's just say once a month, or we're here, you all can say something like, you know, well, you don't want to say all the bad stuff that's happening, but you could say, hey, on this topic right here, we noticed X, Y, and Z, and where we feel like that might be this might be a good way to get it kind of back on track and centered around our scholars. I don't have a good example for that right now, but I'm sure that there's something that we're talking about that sometimes doesn't feel student focused, even though we feel like it is. So it would be good for you guys to maybe, you know, advise on that piece there. So those are my 3 that I have.
And so
I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, that was helpful. Do we have any questions before I jump in and ask a question? I want to give somebody else.
I see Ms. Smith's hand is up.
Yes, Ms. Smith.
Thank you. So it's hard to follow up behind that. I have raised my hand, but Chair Mickens Murray is no longer here. My question, and I want to start by saying rather a concern. With any organization, when you have subcommittees, there's still an opportunity to meet with the head. So my question was going to be, could we establish a reoccurring time frame? I'm the vice chair of this committee. I recently became a representative for District 6, and I am just taken away by what I just saw. I'm gonna just be very frank. And it's very disappointing because I want to see change with this school system. I have 1 child that graduated. I have 2 young children, and we have problems. And to see my chair, my board chair leave a meeting like this, and to also hear that this particular group has been trying to get a meeting for more than 2 years, that's absurd. Any organization does not operate like this. So she has left. So Ms. Walker, Vice Chair Walker, I hope you hear my concern. And my question is just very simple. How can we establish a reoccurring meeting, even though we may have liaisons that we work through?
Okay, I think that's a fair question. I too, I represent District 9, and I've been working hard to get this District 9 person on here. So I know that that's coming soon. And so I understand and I appreciate you all volunteering to do this work. I know that there was some work done before just to even get you guys reestablished. And so the the lift is always heavy in the beginning, but I'm hoping that through conversations like this, we'll be able to smooth it out, and that's fine. So the way to answer your question, the way to get a recurring meeting is literally to get it scheduled. So let's just do that. I mean, to me, it's that simple. As to my admin at this time is Rosa, Rosa Lopez. Yes. And I don't know why I had a blank with her last name. Oh my gosh. And Chair Mickens Murray's is Cindy Adeline. So I think that or we could ask Ravel. The point is, I can just take back that there wants to be a recurring meeting. What was the time frame for it? Was it monthly or quarterly? What did you want?
See, I think we'll take either monthly or quarterly. We weren't necessarily asking for monthly.
Okay, so quarterly, let's
would be
start with
great.
that. Let's start with that, because I think quarterly also gives an opportunity for work to be done in the meantime. I think sometimes if it's a monthly meeting, it just feels like additional work, but you all are doing the work. So you all do have liaisons, and I think that quarterly will be a good kind of update meeting. And so I see that Jonathan Briggs' hand is up. He might have input to that, but for me as a board leader, I'm good with quarterly. And so why don't we just start there, and maybe that can be, maybe you think about what that looks like. Maybe those are just updates as to where we are or help needed. You know, it should, I would imagine that you don't want us here very long. It's probably like, here's some updates of what's going on. Here's where help is needed, and maybe an ask if there's any help on our side. So
can I offer a suggestion as well? Because right now the PCAC officers meet on a monthly basis with the superintendent and Chief Boyd, right?
Yeah.
And so it also is as needed. If there are some things that are happening district, like you're saying about policies, like I mean, I just need people to be reminded that we have full-time jobs.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
That we are, you know, lending our time and our expertise to support. And the more honed in on something that you can help us to become, like we can tell you what's happening in our district, what's happening in my lane, right? But from a school district perspective, like the business representatives, they may just connect with their person on the district that they live in, but the business component is really also looking at globally what's happening in the school district, right?
Yeah.
Civic engagement, our faith-based. You know, we have PGCEA representation on there, although it's union representation, but, you know, the broader things that may be impacted, like certain policies or certain laws that you want us to hone in on. Because like you say, it's a lot. Like we you know, it's a lot. And so when I got the information about the late filing bills, who'd I call? Miss Lundy, right? Miss Lundy, let's look at this bill. I got this information, but it wasn't on my radar because I had so many other items and other bills that were on my radar, right? And so if you all, you know, can say, hey, PCAC, this is what we may need, even if it can't be a meeting, right? But there needs to be something that you need from us, because we can run and do what we've been doing, right? We have been putting in the work. We've been doing.
Yeah.
And so we just need to know, if you need us to, you know what I said in the beginning, if you need us to advise you, let us know. If you don't need us, send a letter to the governor and tell the governor, well, guess what? We don't want to comply.
Well, we do. So we don't need to go that route. We know that we're here, we need you. And so I understand. And I see you have, I think Jonathan and Robin. I don't know who was up first, sorry.
Yeah, no, well,
I'm gonna go.
Vice Chair Alcar, I just want to say thank you so much for coming tonight and for representing the leadership for the board. I do want to also just mention that because you're here and you and Chair Mickens Murray were here to address some of the concerns that PCAC had around the relationship or lack thereof that's existed here. And I don't want to, not that you're doing this and not that this is what's occurring, but I don't want to wash over the fact that when they're saying to you, because you now represent leadership, that we haven't had meetings in the past, and it hasn't been that easy, because obviously we've made requests and they've gone through, and I've let the PCAC know that there is, from my perspective, at least in talking to you and Chair Mickens Murray, not a desire not to engage with PCAC. And there's also a strong desire to see, PCAC be successful because our school district is successful. If you can speak to that, if you can speak to, because I don't think it's just a simple answer of like, well, now moving forward, let's just make the meetings happen. But also I think what we can do moving forward to ensure that leadership is there, that wouldn't just be you. We would have to make sure that, leadership is represented because this is a governing body and there are laws that cover, these things. And we also want to ensure that we have a collective effort versus a divided one. And so I know that the stronger we are with our partnership, the better we have the results for our kids and for our schools. So could you just speak to that? Because I think that kind of got
Yeah, absolutely. So the chair is not on the line. What I can tell you is that we know that we need PCAC. We know that we've gone through a process where we're going to have representation for each of our 9 districts. And so we know that PCAC is here to stay. With that being said, we have our PCAC who has asked us we have liaisons that's here, which is amazing. And I know that there have been requests. And this is the first time we've been here. And so with that, then we need to establish making sure that we're here on a basis where we're able to meet with the group. And that can't look monthly because we all work. And we do have amazing liaisons like yourself. And so that could be quarterly. And I think that's where we start. And when we say that's where we start, I know that our chair is no longer on here, but what I can do is I can take that back and say, hey, guess what? Monthly, we're unable to do that. And we recognize from what you said that time might not be on the side of all of us here. So quarterly is where we're going to start. And we're going to put that quarterly meeting right here on the schedule. And so it's a choice to be present or not. I think, we're all grown and I can't force somebody to be here. But what I can do is say that we're committed to making sure that PCAC is a success. Therefore, sometimes it might not work for my schedule and I can't be there, but I'm going to do my best in order to be there. So where I'll say we'll go from here, the best I can do at this particular time is say we're committed to PCAC as an entire board. We're committed to PCAC, making sure we make it successful as leaders. I can say that from the leadership, and what success looks and feels like to this group, what they've said is that, hey, we need to meet with our leadership on some type of frequency. And right now that frequency looks quarterly. And if we start meeting quarterly and that feels like it's just too much, like we're not, it just feels redundant and I'm sitting on a call for an hour, then I'll say, hey, can we meet every 6 months? And we have to just adjust. This is the first time. What we know is monthly is too much. So we're going to try quarterly. If that don't work, we're going to go to every 6 months and we'll just figure it out. So that's where I'll say we'll go. And the way that we make that happen is, you guys, is this a separate, let me just ask this right here. Does this feel good coming to where you guys already are? If that is it, then we can just, good. Okay, I see a lot of yeses. So what we'll do is we'll just say next quarter, if this is, what's this, March, JFM? So April, May, June, let's pick June. Put this on a schedule. Let me know, Ms. Millhouse, when the meetings are in June, and we'll go ahead and slide that into the schedule. Okay. And I think that that's where we start. I think it is that simple, actually. And I think that what we can do is when you give your report for PCAC, I think we just say that, one of PCAC's desires is to meet with our leadership on some frequency. We recognize that monthly was a little bit too much. So they're going to give us quarterly updates and we'll do a check-in. They'll give us updates. They'll ask if we have anything and we'll keep it moving and we'll reassess that time period after that. How's that sound? Because that's all I got.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair Walker. And I just want to, for clarity purposes, there was no way that we were asking you all to come on here to think anybody was going to get like sideswipe with us trying to jump on somebody for not meeting with us. We don't have the time for any of that. We are professionals. We do this because we have skin in the game, right? We have children that are in this school system. And so we didn't get elected into these roles. We have been appointed to do this work by God, which it starts with having these children. So first and foremost, we want to say that our request was more so when any advisor comes into a role, you meet with the organization to identify what the need is, right? What are some of the areas that they need your expertise on? So we may be parents but we also are degreed individuals who come with a wealth of information and experience, knowledge, skills, and ability in the world that I work in. And so in no way are we looking to be divisive. We are not looking to hold anyone harm to anything that they are doing or not doing. We are saying that we are adults. We will be treated as such. We will not be here to sit around because someone decided that politically we are to look and bow down because you all are appointed in these roles. No, we are equals in this. The only difference is that you decided to be in the role and you are appointed and you get a stipend. We don't get anything, but the joy and satisfaction that we are excelling as a school system and that our children are excelling and that we are doing everything that we can to create the change that we want to see. And so what we won't do is we will not have anyone put words in our mouth. We won't be spoken to as if we've disrespected a board member. What we have done is gracefully dealt with the disrespect, the lies and the untruths that we've had to deal with and the beggings of this, that, and the other for the past 2 years, but no more. What we are going to do is we're going to operate as a collective. We're going to operate together. And we're going to do our best, whoever shows up at the table or not, because we're never going to stop working until we see our children move across that stage and every other child who has access to a wonderful school system like we are fighting for, who get the education that by law says they're supposed to have. So I thank you all for everyone who spoke. Ms. Welsh, your hand is up. I'm giving you the floor.
Oh, just real quick, I'm so sorry. I wanted just to make sure, Jonathan, did I answer your question?
Yeah, I just wanted to
hope
make sure that
so.
they felt good. So if they feel good about it, then that's really what I was
Good. And then the other piece, I wonder, as I'm starting to think about this, and I know it'll flesh out before 3 months from now, but I wonder when we get to when the leadership comes, if you have kind of like a standard. I could talk to you about it offline, Ms. Millhouse, but I wonder if part of that could be, I know you meet with the superintendent at some point. Maybe it could just be like a couple, a high level on anything that might have come out of that. So, I mean, I have some thoughts. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't call Ms. Millhouse. I could call Jonathan. Whatever's the right thing. You just tell me how I need to play inside the circle, and I'm happy to do that.
Well, yes, our meetings are not, the liaisons are not in our meetings with the superintendent.
Okay. So I'll
right.
call
Well,
you
Chief Boyd is, because she's also the chief of staff, but but she's in that meeting. And so we won't need to engage with the PCAC liaisons.
Okay. That's fine. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. I just had a brainstorm of that. All right, I'm going on mute.
Ms. Welsh, thank you. Vice Chair Wall.
So all the conversation about when you're meeting, I just want to let you know that the new proposed policy that's up for public comment right now says that the full board and this says the full board and the superintendent will consult regularly, but not less than quarterly with the advisory council and may meet more frequently by mutual agreement. So the quarterly thing is a good thing, but if you need to meet more often, you can. And it does say that prior to the first board meeting of the school year, the board and the superintendent will meet jointly with PCAC to receive input regarding the goals for both the superintendent and the Board of Ed. So I think that's a really a valuable opportunity to provide input. And then I also wanted to just share some other language, which actually talks about which I think is so important in the communications between the PCAC and the board and the superintendent. The language says the advisory council collectively advises the board and the superintendent, so it is advisory in nature, and serves as a channel for public concerns, advice, and information to reach the board and the superintendent. So when PCAC committee members have concerns or they hear concerns in their districts and stuff, this is an opportunity to share with both the board and the superintendent. And then what else does it say? So I think it's a really great opportunity for exchange of information on both ends, and therefore and the policy itself with the new language is going to be addressing this with some time restraints in terms of making sure people are meeting at least on a regular basis.
That's awesome.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Welsh. And as you all know, I was trying to make every board policy meeting to make sure that the comments that we had when we first came together that when we first came together, there were a lot of concerns that we had with the policy. And so, see, we don't even need to talk about it. It's in the policy already. It's the revision is there.
Yeah.
So follow the policy. So any other questions? My face is hurting from smiling so much. I'm so happy. Any other comments?
No, I do think though.
I'm sorry,
oh,
Miss
sorry.
Miss
Oh,
Wilson.
Miss Wilson. Okay, let me get on.
Sorry.
Good evening, all.
I'm sorry.
I am happy that we have, that there is the quarterly basis that, we've come to that. That's kind of what I was raising my hand for earlier, is to say, if nothing else, let's start with moving forward to try to meet on a quarterly basis. I love the fact that Ms. Welsh brought that to us, that seems to be the consensus across the board. I would just say that, essentially moving forward, I would ask Board Member Walker, if maybe having the conversation with the board chair to maybe, when we do look to meet in June, to maybe reset, so that we can, I'm one of the new board members, so, I'm kind of coming in, and we just have to be, if we want to be helpful to our scholars as a collective, we want to make sure that, moving forward, maybe we reset. And essentially, I'm not sure about, the thought process on what people's intent are, but maybe this is where we can say, give people grace, let's reset, so that we can move forward in a positive direction. Because we are all taking our time. I mean, time is the one precious thing that all of us have. I don't like to get into the feelings of things. I just want to get into the work. So, if that's something that can be taken back, like, look, let's reset. Let's come up with a constructive way to move together as a collective. We are here at the end of the day for the scholars. We are here to advise. And I think that, when we have these meetings, there are things that quarterly, not just that, we just report out on, but, there may be action items that we want to bring to the board. Because I look at us as more than just, here's a report. But, these are some of the items that we strongly advise to be acted upon as soon as possible. And, some things we may come up with a timeline for, things of that nature. But I really just want to stress that we have to have a strong working relationship together. And that involves keeping your bearing at the end of the day, because I don't want to start off on that type of feeling that we are anything other than a team. I personally, I'm kind of coming in. I'm not originally from here, so I don't know anyone coming in. I did get the chance to meet Dr. Jackson recently at my school, and I didn't even realize it was her until I did a double take. It was wonderful to see. So, I want to be able to see you guys and get excited when I see you out and about in the community and everything like that. And I know there's tons of people I need to reach out to and things of that nature. But for me, I want us to have a constructive relationship. And I think that is the only way that you can move forward. We can't have all sorts of branches of PGCPS being viewed as dysfunctional. We have to work together, and that's if you would just, take that back and say,
Yeah,
the desire, I would just appreciate that.
absolutely. Absolutely. No, thank you so much. And welcome to the team.
Thank you.
The last thing that we want as a collective board is to be any parts of any dysfunction. So what I will commit to you on behalf of our entire board, we have a new commitment statement that we are committed to as a collective. And so what I can tell you is that we're supportive of the PCAC holistically. We have talked about that. I can tell you that we are aligned to our scholars always being first and foremost. And I can tell you that we do want to ensure that we have a working relationship with our parents in our community. And that's what you guys represent. So parents are important to us. Our community is important to us. Advising and giving that perspective is also important to us. So I will absolutely take that back. And I think that that we're clear on that piece right there. But thank you so much for that. And we also are having transitions the same way y'all are going to have people coming in. We have elections that's happening now. We might have new people coming in December. I think, you know, we have an all elected board that's coming about. So there will be transitions on our side. So as we set our foundation, I would consider this as a piece of setting and establishing our foundation in our working relationship. And as we set those up, like we're going to be meeting in June, then we'll continue to strengthen that. And I think that that's a wonderful thing. So yes, I will take that back. And this is recorded, so we'll be able to have it on record.
Thank you so much. I
Absolutely
greatly appreciate that.
Yeah, no worries at all. No worries. We're all in. We're all
Ms.
in.
Wilson, Ms. Walker, Miss Kira Walker, our PCAC member.
One final statement on this. I just want to just reiterate and express that everyone on PCAC has been appointed by a board member. So we are here and we're open to working with the board for the betterment of our children. And we all bring our own skills, strengths, and talents and our own thing that we would like to see improved or happen or supported within Prince George's County Public Schools. And so as we move on to the next topic on our agenda, we understand that we are, you know, we're here for the community. We are the community, and we are working together with our school board members that appointed us. And we want to see this work. We want for this body to be better as it goes into the next 2 years at the end of the close of this fiscal year. And we are committed to the work, because once we're no longer on this council, we're still here in the school system. We're still working for our children. We're still advocating for our children. And that is not going to stop. So I do want to thank you for coming to our meeting and providing real solutions and answering tough questions. So very thankful for that. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. And I had one other brainstorm is maybe in June, you guys can take it off, is in case you all meet in person, then maybe that might be an opportunity to actually mix and mingle a little bit and get and see our representatives. So as you guys consider what June looks like, then that might be an opportunity, Ms. Millhouse. I didn't see your smile continuing, so I don't know what you're feeling over there, but that was one of the things I was thinking. All right, that's all I got.
I'm still filled with joy.
Oh, thank you so much. All right. Did you guys need me any longer?
Nope. Unless we have anyone to ask or state anything else, I appreciate.
Not that I don't think this is very important. Please do not get me off of here talking about that. I did not think that I was very committed. I am, you guys. I'm just doing triple duty.
and we'll say this, Miss Walker, when we did have a meeting that Chief Boyd had gotten set up a couple of months ago, well, for board leadership and PCAC leadership. And so Ms. Walker, Vice Chair Walker, was in attendance to that meeting with Chief Boyd. And the invitation is Mr. Briggs. I also asked to attend that meeting as well. So Vice Chair Walker has met with us. And so, you know, we had some cool things that came out of that meeting, to include the data literacy event.
I know.
We hope is going to happen at some point in time. But we appreciate we appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
I'm
going on mute again because I see 2 hands up. So I want to make sure I'm here for that.
You do? Dr. Jackson,
Mr. Briggs was first.
Mr. Briggs.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to say again, thank you so much, Vice Chair Walker, for coming and for just speaking to the group. And I also want to echo Mrs. Wilson's sentiments around, you know, bridging that divide. And I think it's so important that we do that. And I think also, you know, as a board, as we're thinking about it, and as you in the leadership role, the end of this year for PCAC, you know, how we can really, I think,
Yeah.
acknowledge, because what I keep hearing and what I know is true is that they've put so much work into being here, and there have been people who've been doing, and it's obviously been in existence for 2 years, but you know, they've done so much, they've given so much. So I think for those that are possibly transitioning off, I would love for us to do something to really recognize and celebrate that, as well as you know, be excited about, I think, the partnership that we're going to build, so that we can build that momentum and that positivity as we're kind of moving into the new school year. So I just wanted to appreciate PCAC members as well for your vulnerability, and for, you know, you doing what you do every day on behalf of our school district, on behalf of our scholars, because it's so important.
Oh, that's so good. Jonathan, if you wanna, that's a great idea. I love it. I think Mia's on the line too. Maybe you could throw some ideas to Mia. Let's get this sucker going. I'm all in.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. That
you.
sounds great.
Thank you, Mr. Briggs. Thank
And
you.
last question, Ms. Walker, Vice Chair
Yes.
Walker, do you have any kind of like marching orders for us? Because I know the budget is in process. That was one reason I wanted to share that video tonight. The budget is in front of County Council now. Is that where it is? Our school system budget?
No, I'm pretty sure it came out of there. That's a great question. I wish I mean, what I do know is that I don't know. What
I've been trying to follow it
I will
too. I'm
find
not
that
sure if it had
information.
gone
I
to
will-
Annapolis yet.
Well, the budget actually,
We still
I
wait
will
for
find out.
those late filing bills.
Yeah, we have some late filing bills that's being talked
Yeah.
through right now. So the Board of Education has approved our budget. And
Yes.
so I will find that out as to where it currently sits, because I do not know the answer to that. I know that there's been potentially some modifications. It's moved from the delegation who has voted in favor of a bill that will impact the school budget, impact what we've already voted on, and it will be moving to the Senate. It hasn't yet. It came out of the delegation last Friday. So I would think in the next couple weeks for sure. I mean, we only have we're on limited time until Sine Die. So it's going to be soon. It's going to be moving fast within these next 4 weeks. Okay.
And
So I
you'll
think
just
within the
let us
next
know
2
if
weeks.
we need to show up in Annapolis. That's all. I just want to know.
Yes, and you know who else is on here? Let me just say, Miss Welsh is gone, but don't you worry.
No, I'm here.
Oh,
Miss
she's
Welsh is
here. Miss Welsh is gonna keep us attuned too. With she'll hook us up with when this goes to the Senate as well. But we have a careful eye, taking a look at it.
Thank you.
And you said
Thank you.
one, wasn't it House Bill 398 and 396 that they passed through on Friday? They
Yeah.
passed both of those on Friday.
Yes, an
Yeah.
affirmative on that. Mhm.
Yes. And so
Yes.
those bills, PG 406-24, House Bill 398, and PG 407-24, House Bill 396, are the two late filing bills that may have a very negative impact on our operating budget. And so we definitely want to make sure that we are speaking to our elected officials that are in the Senate and letting them know that that blueprint funding money was given to us, right? That we had to fight for because we were underfunded.
Yeah.
And it's not that we were given extra, we were made whole. And so when you have these late filing bills that come in that then change how the funding would now be given to us, then now we're having to figure out how we're going to cover a gap when we've already created our operating budget. And so this will have an impact on our school system. So we need to just be made aware of what's happening. So I'm letting you all know now, House Bill 398 and House Bill 396. Yeah. So thank you both for your final comments on that. Is there anyone else? Because I'm trying to scroll through and see any other hands up.
I don't see any.
No. Well, Vice Chair Walker, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you
Thank
guys.
you.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, and please be safe driving back. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Okay. Can
All
you, I'm doing, I can't, oh, there it is. Okay, bye.
Bye.
You know, when you're on a phone, it's very tough to get the stuff on. Okay, now that I got it. See you guys. Have a great night. Thank you,
Bye.
Jonathan.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
And so, thank you all. That was a very lively and exciting time for us as Peak. I thought this was going to be one of our shorter meetings. And if there is nothing else, we did have item 2.2 for district and community updates, but I'm not sure. Does anyone have anything to update and share that's happening in your area? Mr. Carter Ross.
I'll just quickly mention, my board member, Pamela Strudler brother and I had met 2 weeks ago, just sort of to go over the status of a few different things, but she sends her apologies for not being able to attend tonight. We have at Hyattsville a meeting regarding the blueprint and funding with Dr. Thornton, and so she is in attendance there and representing PGCPS there. And I also just wanted to note that Northwestern High School's SGA back last month had a very successful effort to register 16, 17-year-olds or pre-register 16, 17-year-olds to vote. It was a great voter drive effort that they did, and it was really kind of cool to see the kids coming together around that. So
thank you so much, Mr. Ross. I don't know I think Ms. Wilson, was your hand up next, Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
And then Ms. Lundy, and then Ms. Smith.
Thank you so much, Chairwoman Millhouse. On the 28th of February, I attended a meeting at Dora Kennedy French Immersion. For those that were not aware, there was a situation basically with the potential movement of Dora Kennedy for French Immersion to, I believe it's called Kent Hill Middle School, from basically Greenbelt to, what area is that considered? I think it's Landover.
Yes.
Area.
Yeah, Kenmore Middle.
Thank
Yes,
you.
Landover.
Kenmore Middle School. There was, it was a great meeting that was had. It was a very productive meeting, given all of the media attention and the heightened feelings around the situation. There will be a meeting, and this meeting was basically kind of the DKFI parent leadership members, as well as different representatives from the Prince George's County public school system that have to do with like building maintenance and those types of
things. No, come in here.
So it was a very, very productive meeting. And there will be a meeting coming up. I forgot the date off the top of my head, but there will be a meeting that'll be coming up for the greater DKFI community and some of those same leaders. Something that kind of came out of it, I got a chance to speak with Chairwoman Millhouse. And just honestly, things were moving so quickly. There were people I was supposed to try to get in touch with, but things were moving so quickly. It felt like every day just something different was happening. Something that I'm going to want to speak with the chair with, because I am new, to figure out how do you put a proposal together when it comes to a group of us that have specialty programs in our districts, how we can kind of convene to see if there are issues that are across the board that we would advise the Board of Education to kind of address in a manner that makes that just addresses common issues. So one for general specialty programs, as well as one for those immersion schools as well, because those may be two different issues. If they're the same, they can just be collapsed on each other, but if they're different, then they can kind of be separated into different groups. But that is essentially what is going on in District 2 right now. So I thank you for the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Mrs. Wilson, I just wanted to,
Thank you, Ms. Wilson.
Add in, I know that there's supposed to be a meeting on May 11th, if you wanted to share that with the group.
Yes, I couldn't think of the date because I was looking at March and I was like, I don't see it.
It's,
I don't see
it
it.
is, it's March 11th at 7 o'clock at Dora Kennedy.
That is right.
And
I see it. The DKFI town hall. Thank you.
Thank you. And I want to say, Ms. Wilson, thank you, because I know you put a lot of work into getting things into a position where there was an even exchange and conversation and engagement, right? And so I appreciate you just jumping right in and working so tirelessly and trusting me enough to help me to kind of guide you in what to do. And it was moving quick. So you represented our parent council group very well. Thank you so much. And I think it was Miss Lundy that was next, then Miss Smith, and then Dr. Jackson.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. So again, yes, so I am Carletta Lundy, the representative for the civic and community entity of the PCAT. And I would like to say that I did have the opportunity to testify before the Policy and Governance Committee, as well as the full board, as well as submitted my public comment with respect to Policy 1500, asking the board to consider allowing existing members to be able to enter into their consecutive term without having to resubmit a new application as the current policy allows. I also had the opportunity to support parents before the Ways and Means Committee in Annapolis in February on the 28th for HB House Bill 1257, which is the Public Schools Restorative Practices Schools Establishment. And that committee has a responsibility, the Ways and Means Committee has a responsibility for dealing with the revenue when there's a fiscal component attached to those bills. And I also mentioned the HB 1394, which I would hope that we would really seriously look at as a PCAT committee, because I think that's a bill that we really should support. And also under the HB 1257, under that bill, it's a restorative practice school. It's a public school that they want to be have the restorative practices integrated, into the daily practices and activities of the whole school. So they're looking at developing, they're asking this bill is develop a comprehensive plan that could be developed by MSDE, which is for you don't know, the Maryland State Department of Education. And I wanted to make a note here that Chapter 36 of the 2021, the Blueprint for Maryland's Future, establishes the MCCCS within the Maryland Community Health Resources Commission, and also expands the funding for the school-based health centers and for local school systems to train school staff to recognize student behavior health issues, and requires local boards of education to enhance and expand the availability of behavioral health services to the students. So we really can get behind both of these bills, 1257 and 1394. And that is my report. Thank you.
Miss Smith, I'm sorry, I'm calling your name and I'm on mute.
No problem. Late to be acknowledged. So there's just two things out of District 6. We recently had our chat and chew with board member Jackson, and two big things that he mentioned was for Central High School, there's going to be a walk audit in order to assess how kids are crossing Central Avenue to get to the high school. The proposed date is April 27th at 10 a.m. But some feedback that came out of the discussion is that that's a Saturday and kids don't go to school on Saturdays. And therefore a true assessment may need to be held during the times that kids are going to school. So I don't have the gentleman's there, but who was speaking about this audit, he stated he was going to take it back to the team to see if they could reassess on a better date. Then the next thing was soon there's going to be implementation of the Safe Passage project. And what I understand this to be is volunteers will be helping to report out any safety concerns with students getting home with 6 key schools. It was not revealed what the key schools are, but I understand that the schools cross between District 6 and District 7, and that this project was birthed because of the safety concerns. So it sounds like what I understand is that Brandon and another community member is working with a nonprofit organization in order to help execute this. Apparently, they have the infrastructure to train the volunteers to ensure that this goes forth. That it goes forth and implemented well. They are going to be looking for volunteers who can do a rotation between the hours of 3 and 7 p.m. And that is about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Jackson.
Thank you, Chairwoman Millhouse. One thing I just wanted to remind everyone, the transportation audit was released for Prince George's County Public Schools, and our Division of Operations has been charged by the Board of Education to bring recommendations from that audit to what the school system is planning to do to address it. And I just want to ask PCAP members to please be cognizant of that. I think they present to the Board of Education, and Mr. Briggs might know what date it is, but it would be so good for us to be in tune with that, because the audit recommended major changes in Prince George's County. And I'll just share the one thing I do know. As a district of our size, we have 26 different bell times, which mean different. And so schools do basically what they want to do. Most districts our size, like Montgomery County, have 3 bell times. There's an admission time for elementary, admission time for middle, and admission time for high school. And that's what the audit recommended, which will mean major change. And that's just the one huge change, because our families are going to have to adjust to that. And there are other changes that are going to come out when they make their presentation to the board. And I would just like for PCAC to really be on top of that, because we're going to have to massage some people in our communities that are going to have to get used to some major changes. Thanks.
Yeah, and I appreciate Dr. Jackson, because I know, and Carter, set me straight if I'm off on the pathway that's not correct, that in our meetings with the superintendent, and I think we also had the budget meeting for those who were able to attend with the superintendent, that the group that came in, they did an audit, right? But out of the audit, you then have some findings that you then need to do some further research. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure how the bell schedules are set, but when we talk about changing bell schedules, I think it's a little bit more than massaging the community, right? It has to go a lot deeper than making sure that you understand that if you're changing that bell schedule that doesn't align to somebody's work schedule, then the timely notification is going to be very important. Mm-hmm. Because if my child gets on the bus at 6 o'clock in the morning, and that still gives me time to get to work by 7:30, if you then adjust the schedule because it needs to be now something for a physical impact, right? Right. We want to set things so we can kind of maybe save money, then the timeliness of that is very important, because there's not that much flexibility with a person's work schedule to just say to their job, oh, I just need to change my schedule because the school district changed the schedule. So I'm hoping, and I know that this conversation is something that we have with the superintendent, that they are very mindful that you have recommendations, but just because someone came in and recommended, that you also need to put in the work, but identifying what things that we can do now that have minimal impact, and that we can allow people to build up the capacity to be able to withstand, or we also build in other community partners that can support that if there is a gap where the parent schedule doesn't also now align with the new bail schedules, that we're providing the support. Because what we're going to end up is, you're talking about a truancy issue. You're going to have a huge truancy issue when the children can't get to school, and it's because we had to change bail schedules and there was only 30, 67, 90 days notice. That's sometimes it's not enough.
I will share that they plan to have release their findings by the end of the school year and perhaps start in August. So that'll at least give us a few months.
That doesn't give us any time, Dr. Jackson.
I understand.
Right,
I understand,
June,
but I will
and then
share with
August.
everyone. Yes, please, please, please pay attention to those presentations at the Board of Education meeting and raise those concerns, because it is major.
Yeah.
And then I just want to shout out to Ms. Wilson and her wonderful community, Adora Kennedy. I had the pleasure of being with them at their meetings. And look, parents' voice is the most important voice to keep us, keep our eyes on our children, our minds on our children. So thank you all for letting me have that opportunity to be with you.
Thank you. Ms. Walker.
No, I was just gonna say, Dr. Jackson, I know I was invited to that the pre-audit committee, and so we did have representation there from PCAC. And who else was there? T. Carter Ross, were you there? It was somebody else. Or were you I've been on so many things this year. The calendar, the climate, I can't remember. But I know I was one of the PCAC members that was present for the pre-audit. And we did ask about, like the next steps and things of that nature. Having worked in different school systems, I know it's very inefficient to have 26 start times. And it also does not align with pedagogy, right? As far as having elementary school kids start at 9:15 when the high school should be starting at 9:15. And, elementary school should be starting at 7 in the morning. So all these things, I do believe that the superintendent staff in office and assistant superintendents will be bringing their body of knowledge from different parts of the country and making good decisions. And one of the biggest concerns is that just realistically, it's just a lack of bus drivers. And so if you have a lack of bus drivers and you have 26 different start times, there's always going to be some type of logistics issue of transporting students safely to school. So we are keeping our ears to the ground. That is something that directly impacts us immediately. And we are here and we are engaged. That's all.
Thank you. Ms. Lundy.
Thank you, Chairman House, for the second round. Real quick, I did forget to mention a very important bill also that would be important to our parents, and the sponsor of this bill is Delegate Tiffany Austin, and it's HB 0547. And you'll see why. Crime of violence, educational facilities, medical facilities, and placement and places of worship, penalty, the Sacred Places and Safety Act. So this bill basically will be prohibiting a person from committing a crime of violence while the person is in an educational facility. So you can see how this impacts us, parents, faculty, staff, everyone, and a medical facility or a place of worship. In Annapolis, it was a very robust conversation. It was a very heartfelt conversations too, because you had many different organizations and parents speaking about this and the need to have this act in place, and the appreciation for Delegate Austin bringing this up. And so I just wanted to put that on the table too, HB 0547. So PCAC was in the room again, supporting Delegate Tiffany Austin with this particular bill. Thank you.
And say that bill one more time, Ms. Lundy. House Bill what?
House Bill 0547. Crime of violence.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Is there anyone else? I'm trying to. Are there any other hands? You guys are amazing. You guys and gals, you all, the group, everyone, it's amazing. Well, I do have one thing. Dr. Jacks, I'm on pillar 5 of the PGCPS Blueprint Committee. And Dr. Jacks is one of the leads. She and I spoke after one of our meetings about providing some feedback. They have to report out to the Accountability and Implementation Board by March the 15th. And what's happening is we're doing rounds of peer review. And I mentioned to her that, because it was only a few of us, right? And I mentioned that would she be open to connecting with PCAT to see if you all have any availability amongst everything else you're doing to read some of the items that they are, meaning PGCPS is proposing in our plan as it relates to what we are supposed to be doing to make sure that we are adhering to the blueprint. If you have time to give any feedback. So I will share with you, I will reach out to her to have her to share with you all some of the items that she may need some support on, just to give some feedback if you have, and feedback meaning, yes, it's answering because she's going to give you a rubric. But if you have the time and can support, because what's happening is the state has given them a very quick turnaround. So they, the information for this first round is due by March 15th. And when she sent it to me, I had about 3 days to respond. And so clearly I'm asking for an extension, like, you know, because I have to do the job that pays me first. But I did want to make sure that you all knew that Dr. Jacks will be sending information to us as a group. And if you do have the time to provide any feedback on any of the items, that is another way that as a PCAC member, we can provide some support on what is happening in PGCPS and what we are stating as a school district we are going to do to make sure that we adhere to the blueprint and make sure that the money is spent as it should be and we have some governance with it. So that's all I have.
I have a question, Chair Millhouse, on that, what you just said.
Yes.
Yes, so is what Dr. Jackson going to send us, is it broken down by the pillars as relates to the blueprint?
Yes, so Dr. Jacks, it's
yes,
J-A-C-K-S,
not me.
Not Jackson. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, yes, it would be.
Okay,
yes, yes, it would be. And so thank you, Ms. Lundy. And I want to also just say, I want to thank Ms. Lundy, because when a bill I'm calling Ms. Lundy, Ms. Lundy, do you have a moment? I need you to, let's walk through this bill together to make sure that I am not, what I'm seeing is what I'm seeing and that I'm not as confused as I think I am. So I appreciate you taking the time to allow me to pick your brain ever so often when these bills are coming out. And like, Ms. Lundy, I'm confused. What is happening? Help me out. So thank you for lending the expertise over the past couple of weeks with these late file bills and everything else that's been coming out. And thank all of you all for everything that you all have been doing in the support. And I can move around as chair because I have a group of people that I know that's supporting me, and I'm not doing anything but speaking out on what you all say, tell them this, and I'm doing it. And I'm trying to bring it back to make sure that we all have an opportunity for our voices to be heard. So on that, we can move into item 3.3. I have no follow-up items to mention or talk about Ms. Barton, do you have anything? There's one follow-up. I will get with Superintendent, Chief Boyd to see where we are on the most recent applications for the PCAC vacancies, to see where they are, and we're in March. And so we should be now, I guess, moving into the period that for those of us whose term is supposed to be ending in June, you know, that the application period opens back up again. So I will follow up on that. Ms. Barton, yes.
Oh, the only thing I wanted to add was Dr. Jackson was referring to the transportation audit. They're scheduled to give a presentation about the plan of implementing the audit. The meeting is March 21st.
Thank you.
That's when they actually made a motion to have a presentation by the March 21st meeting that would involve the implementation of the transportation audit.
Thank you, Ms. Barton. Thank you, thank you. And that's going to be presented at the board meeting, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. And so if you all can't be in person, you can go online and watch it video. Ms. Smith? Or Vice Chair Smith?
Thanks. There was 2 items I wanted to follow up on. A few weeks ago, we had a presentation by Superintendent House's staff on the budget. And I thought in that meeting, they stated that they was going to share that presentation with us. And if we wanted to provide any comments to it, there would be an opportunity to do so. I haven't seen the presentation come through. So I wanted to know, is there a way for us to get that material? And is there still an opportunity to provide comment?
Okay.
That was the first thing. And then the second thing is about the transportation audit. I wanted to know with the PCAC, is there an opportunity for us to go through that document and identify areas of concern?
Absolutely. And I can work with Mia to get access to it so that we can share it with you, because I know it was shared publicly and it may be on the website, but we'll find it and email it to you so you can have it.
Because I understand there's like a larger document and maybe I don't know where the access of it, but I've been looking at the abbreviated information. But if, there's a more in-depth document, it will be good to be able to see that in order, to provide whatever feedback we may have, whether it's a concern or it's a good suggestion.
I think that's a wonderful idea. And, PCAC can also ask for transportation. I think it's Mr. Baldwin, Kiba Baldwin, who's a director. He might be someone you might want to invite to a meeting to talk directly to parents and community members who are leaders in the community. So
yeah, but our next meeting is not until April, so we would need to get something moving a lot quicker than that. So I think, we can get that on the detailed report. I think that's Ms. Wilson. That's what you're talking about, getting the Smith, the detailed report, right? Along with the abbreviated report, and then see if we can get on Mr. Baldwin on the schedule. But if the school district is meeting, I guess we would just need to better understand the timeline. And so if they are doing any meetings about it upcoming, maybe they could be our April agenda item, with having Mr. Baldwin to come and go over the transportation report.
I just found the audit. I just found it. I will send it to Ms. Barton so she can share it with everybody.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
Oh, you got it too?
Yeah, it's on board docs, both documents.
Okay,
so I can share both documents with the members.
That would be great. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So right now you're going to share a couple of documents. You are sharing the transportation audits. What else were you supposed to be sending out? The presentation, the list, Dr. Jackson's list that's on board docs. that as well as, Miss, Welsh.
Welsh.
Yeah,
I
Yep.
sent that already.
okay.
Mhm.
Okay, so next steps is, we do have the PCAC officers have a meeting Friday at 10 a.m. with, Superintendent, House and Chief Boyd. There was supposed to be Dr. Jackson, the legislative day was proposed, PGCPS legislative day was proposed for the 13th of March. Is that been postponed?
It has been postponed. It's usually something that's led by the union and they could not come to agreement on it. And so Chief of Staff Boyd just asked me to step back. And because she really wanted it before Sine Die, and they couldn't get it together. So yeah.
Okay. Okay, so hopefully it'll circle back around. Miss Barton?
Dr. Adon asked the meeting that you're referring to with the superintendent, he wanted to know if that was open to the entire team. He emailed that to me. Or is it just for the PCAC leadership?
So that's just for the PCAC officers. But they are, meaning the superintendent and Chief Boyd were supposed to be, and we'll talk about that on Friday. They were supposed to be providing a date for the PCAC as a whole to meet with them. So yeah. And they're going to start doing that. We're going to move away from the officers meeting, and then we're going to start having the whole group meetings with them going forward. So this may be our last officers meeting before we begin to move into the full group meeting. Because please make sure you put your bios in the folder. But as we have stated to the superintendent House and Chief Boyd, it would be redundant to meet with the officers and then meet with the committee as a whole. So we would, just pretty much move away from the singular meetings and just have the whole group meeting. So that way we're not having to report out. And then each of you can kind of give some feedback based on what may be happening as it relates to when they, share. Because those meetings, we are really just going in and they already have the agenda pretty much set about what they want to get our insight on. And so, yeah, so it is for the officers. This March meeting is for the officers. And then they are, and Carter, make sure that I'm saying the right thing. They're supposed to be moving to whole group meetings moving forward. Right, Mr. Ross?
That's how I understand it.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Barton. Do you have anything else? Okay. And so at this time, we're going to move to item 4. It is 8:54 p.m. and I am going to ask for a motion from the floor to adjourn this lively meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone that opposes? Have a wonderful night. We are
You too.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Everyone.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Good
Take
night.
care.
You
Bye.
too.
Ms. Barton, just real quick, if I may, did you note the time that Reverend Dr. Bego and Dr. Adon and Mr. Epps left? Okay. You're on mute, ma'am.